Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Andrew and Wendy at Microphonic Designs. She's just in the other room for just a minute. Today we have been at Cleburne High School just south of Fort Worth, and it's been kind of a long one. I think we were just tired today, but the setup came together really well, and it's all pretty straightforward stuff, thankfully. So let's take a look at what we're working with. We have in the front row 3 marimbas, 1, 2, and 3, and then in the back row we've got 3 vibes, 1, 2, and 3, and over on the left side 1 we have 2 synths, so we've got 2 MIDI controllers going into 1 Mac Mini over there. We'll take a look at that. We also have, if you can spy it right there, a soloist microphone for a flute player. We've also got, I've got it sitting here in the mixer cart. This is a Roland Aerophone. And so this is going to be one of the soloist instruments over on side 2, along with 2 microphones there and there. You can't really see them, but we've got 2 mics set over there for side 2. Got a little trombone quartet going on, so we're going to do 2 players per mic. And we have in the mixer cart a PreSonus Studio Live 32. Now this is actually the first PreSonus Studio Live console I've worked on this year. So you don't see too many of these anymore in the marching band space unless it's at a group that's had one for a while. None of the schools that I work with have been buying these new, because I think they have a new version of it anyway. I think they have like a 64 channel version and all this. So suffice it to say, I don't get much exposure to the Studio Live. This school has one, and I think 1 or 2 of the Mansfield ISD schools we work with has them. But we got this all set up and ready to go. Down below, we've got a whole bunch of these McCormick's wireless units that we're not going to be using this year, but they're still all hooked in there and ready to go. We've got 2 Yamaha amplifiers. We've got the PX8, so this top amplifier powers the full range main speakers, and the PX10, a little bit beefier amplifier, powers our dual 18-inch subwoofers. Now one thing that is interesting about this setup is that we are running the PX8 in what we call stereo mode, so each one of these volume dials works independently for the left side 1 speaker and the right side 2 speaker. The bottom amp I have in what we call parallel mode. So essentially what's going on is I have 1 single output coming from the mixer. So I'll show you around the back what I'm talking about to help visualize this. In the back of the board, we have 3 outputs right here in the bottom. The red and the white are for our main speakers, the left and the right, and then the blue is for our subwoofers. So we're running the subs in what we call mono. So both subs on the left and the right are going to be getting the same signal, because the amplifier down here on the bottom, that PX10, is taking the input right there in blue. It's taking the input for the subs into input number A, and is copying the signal to the A amplifier and the B amplifier. So that's all that's really going on, is both subs are just getting the same signal. And what that means on the controls is that we actually have, let me go back here, the main volume for both subs is on the left, which is really important to note, because in this mode, in this operational mode, the right dial, that controls a different parameter. This is the balance between the A and the B amplifier. So when it's at 0, they're matched, and the left dial is our main volume for both subs. So really important to note that this balance is not the same as VOL volume when this thing is in parallel mode. And that is a timer that I just closed out. So anyhow, that's what we have going on down here. So stereo mode for the PX8, parallel mode for the PX10, and that's because we're running the subs in mono, which is usually fine. And I just wanted to point out that it changes the behavior of these dials, okay? So it's just a little bit different than the one on top. So that said, the only one they need to touch on the bottom is the left. The right dial can be left alone. The speakers themselves it's the classic combo of Yamaha speakers, where we've got the main speak-on cable coming in here to the yellow. And I tried to see if I could fix this by shortening the copper wires and moving the connector back, but it's soldered in there. and I don't have the soldering kit today. So this should be all right though. We got the yellow coming in from the mixer cart, and then the white just jumps the signal up. So that's like the 4-pole speak-on cable stuff. So if you've seen these speakers in marching band, you've probably seen this before, real standard. And that connecting panel is just up front here. Classic McCormick's field PA systems, which, by the way, if you're looking for a field PA system, get at your boy. I can help you out. But in any case, that's a good look at the mixer cart. In the mixer, let me turn off the flashlight here. We've got marimbas in green over here on the left, channels 1 through 6. We've got vibes here in the purple, channels 7, 8, and 9. And I've skipped a channel because I wanted to make sure that the synths were linked. So even though we have 2 synth parts, a synth 1 and a synth 2, they're using main stage, and we're using 2 outputs for that. So all of the synth sounds for both of those parts in the sheet music are going to come through these 2 channels right here. So that's really important to note, because if they need to make an adjustment in main stage, like if the synth 2 parts are too loud, they have to turn it down over in the synth cart, not here in the board, because if they turn it down here, everything electronics is going to get turned down, right? So we've got to be careful that we don't just immediately jump to turning this down. It's got to be done over there if it's a specific sound that they're trying to balance with everything. And then again, we've got the soloists over here in like this right-hand side, and then a bunch of open channels. On the right-hand side, we've got our slider for the mains, the full range cabinets, and then they need to make sure they hit Mix Effects Master, this button, so that we get to, Mix Effects Master, so that we have access to the subwoofer output, because again, I did opt for them to have a separate fader for the subs, so that they can control those low frequencies separate from the mains, just in case they need that extra control. Now, from the front ensemble, we have 2 snakes. We've got 2 main zones. The red snake is coming in here to marimba 2, and that carries the signal for our 3 marimbas. So the cabling for marimbas 1 and 2, they travel in this way and meet the modular snake. And the cables for marimba 3 come in this way to meet at the end of this marimba, and those all converge into this mod snake, which is the red snake that goes into the board. And I've tied the snakes in right here, so they'll need to make sure that when they wrap the cables, they're doing the loops over here at the soundboard, and they're dragging the disconnected end this way into the soundboard. Otherwise, the snake's gonna get all messed up. So that's just one of the things they'll need to make sure they do, is when they disconnect that part and then do the loops at the soundboard. So that's what's got to happen for both the red and the white snake, which, speaking of that double, comes over here to the synth cart. And we actually discovered that they've got this really cool custom I/O panel. And so the snake that goes to the soundboard is just connected to these outputs here. So you'll see I've got the white snake connected to the front of this panel. I don't think they'll need to disconnect this, because this should just lay very snugly against the front panel that goes on. These cables here are inputs. So we've got red, white, and blue from our vibraphones. Wendy did a really great job making a bundle that comes over from Vibe 1. They plug in here, and then our flute soloist, the orange cable, plugs in right here. So I've got these color-coded. So these are the only 4 cables on this panel that really need to come unplugged for transit. And then everything else for the synthesizers is all in the back there. So what we're going to do after the video walkthrough is just open up main stage, double check that signal routing, and then we'll be good to go, which, I mean, it's pretty straightforward though. I've got the outputs from here coming just to the back of the yellow and double yellow down there. And then the vibes, again, coming into the synth cart, it's really straightforward, where all of their cables are just traveling this way. The signal is traveling this way. So Vibe 3 over here has 1 cable for its microphone. Vibe 2 has its own cable and the carrier cable for the signal for Vibe 3. So we're just adding on. And then again, Vibe 1 here has 3 cables for all 3 of their signals. And then it meets a separate cable bundle that comes forward to the synth cart. In the synth carts themselves, we have 2 MIDI controllers. Over here, we have an Arturia Keylab 88. And in the Synth 1 cart, we have a Nectar Impact GXP88. And then again, those are just going into main stage, connecting to the laptop, and we're good to go. And then the monitor speaker is down there in alto something or another. So yeah, that's pretty much the walkthrough. Again, real straightforward stuff. It came together quite nicely. Like I said, I think I was tired today because like for most of the setup, I was on the phone with my wife doing office work at the same time as working on this. And then like Wendy was helping me out. So it came together, but I'm definitely tired and ready to get some good rest tonight. So if you yourself would like some help with your front ensemble's audio, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You know, especially this time of year when we're like still making sure that everything's working and getting it all set up. If you need tips and tricks, feel free to shoot me an email. It's Andrew@Microphonic Designs, or if you just run out of time and would like to have us come and handle this type of thing for you as well, you're also more than welcome to get in touch. I would rather get this set up a little bit later in the like kind of that early season time than not at all, right? So anyway, y'all, take care. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.